Hello and welcome, my name is Nate from Video Games Recon, and as per usual we're going to be recapping this week's popular culture and gaming news that I find interesting and think you will too. Please keep in mind this video was recorded either early Friday morning or evening on UK time, so some important news could be missing and that this video will be posted most likely on a Saturday. Anywho, enough jibber jabber, without any further ado, let's do it to it. Okay, so let's start off with some TV and movie news and then get into the games. First up, we have some creepy news for all you Slender Man fans, as Screen Gems, the studio behind the Resident Evil film franchise, has acquired the rights to make a Slender Man film and is targeting a late 2016 shoot, so we could see the film hitting cinemas sometime next year. When I first heard about this news, my curiosity was piqued, as Slender Man is potentially a very scary and interesting premise if done right. But then my excitement was tempered significantly when I found out the guys responsible for the Resident Evil series will be behind it, as it's always a worry with these sorts of films that it will follow suit and be a generic slasher film or become cheesy and comedic. Not that the Resident Evil films were terrible per se, cheesy sure and in no way scary, but enjoyable in a guilty pleasure sort of way. So, not the sort of tone I would want from a Slender Man film. I hope they take this to a dark place and steer clear of becoming a cheesy teen horror movie. Maybe I'm being pessimistic about this film, but my money's on them ruining it as opposed to fulfilling the IP's potential. Anywho, let's move on cautiously whilst peering over our shoulders in the hope that Slender Man's not behind you. In much more optimistic and exciting news, for me anyway, the dope-ass early 2000s animated series Samurai Jack makes a comeback on Adult Swim. Although it only ran for 4 seasons and the IP hasn't been touched in over 10 years, Samurai Jack had become a beloved sleeper hit, amassing a hardcore, if albeit niche fanbase. I just hope they can recapture the magic of this series and maybe even make it a bit more mature to boot, as I used to love this back in the day when it aired over here on the Cartoon Network, and I always thought this show had such promise and would love to see a more adult interpretation of the series. Here's optimistically hoping it lives up to its potential and still feels relevant in 2016 onwards. And finally, for TV and movies, the Assassin's Creed trailer drops, and surprisingly it actually looks pretty good. I don't know about you, but I was definitely expecting this film to suck balls like so many video to movie crossovers gone before. And although all we've seen so far is a trailer, and trailers can be deceptive, this one actually gave me a reason to care about this film somewhat, even though I'm not all that into the Assassin's Creed series. Speaking of a large game series, Civilization 6 gets revealed and apparently will shake things up and have major changes. Although, not being a Civ fan, the changes talked about appear incremental at best to me. Still, I respect this series and type of game, and would be curious to play it when it comes out. But there's such a time sink, and unfortunately I don't know whether I'll ever get round to it. But still, something juicy for fans to sink their teeth into in the imminent future. Some super cool news now, as Bethesda's pioneering mods for console gamers begins, as Xbox One is now accepting signups for beta access to mods made in the Fallout 4 creation kit. Watch Dogs 2 will have a very different tone according to Ubisoft CEO, probably going to butcher this name, but anyway, here goes nothing, Yves Guillemot. My thoughts on this are, it's sure as shit better, as the tone of Watch Dogs 1 was disappointment. That series and world had so much potential, both in terms of story and gameplay, but thanks to its wooden, unsympathetic protagonist Aiden Pierce and its generic GTA/Assassin's Creed style gameplay, it fell short in both respects. Watch Dogs 2 is targeted for release in 2017 alongside other Ubisoft games like Ghost Recon's Wildlands and South Park's A Fractured Butthole. And according to the Ubisoft CEO, Watch Dogs 2 has innovative gameplay and the potential to be one of Ubisoft's best-selling games. But to be fair, he's not likely to come out and say he expects the new Watch Dogs gameplay to be shit, and it to sell really badly, is he? For me, this is a wait and see for some reviews or a beta before forming a lasting opinion. Sticking with Ubisoft for a minute, Mr. Guillemot has been discussing his thoughts on some interesting news on the future of consoles and how he expects in the near future traditional consoles will be a thing of the past and moving forward will be phased out in favour of streaming game services via a network similar to a service like PlayStation Now, for example. And personally, for better or worse, I agree with him that this is a likely or at least possible future. That said, I think his timescale may be a bit off unless he's talking about a stream and download service hybrid, as he believes this will happen in a PlayStation 6 or Xbox 3 or whatever the fuck they decide to call it era. As personally, I struggle to see how the worldwide internet infrastructure will be up to scratch unless concepts like Google Fiber become realised for the general public within the next decade or so. The Toys to Life game studio responsible for the Disney Infinity game gets shut down, unfortunately letting go 300 employees from its self-publishing arm and losing Disney $147 million all in. Personally, the fact that this wasn't a success is of no surprise to me, even though they had great IP at their disposal like Star Wars and the Avengers, as the competition in this market is quite crowded, and I'm not just talking about the Toys to Life market, as although they had competition with LEGO Dimensions, Skylander, Amiibo, etc., they also had to compete with all the other games out there. And sure, these games aren't per se targeted at kids, but you're living in cloud cuckoo land if you think this genre is in a vacuum. And parents aren't buying their kids games like Battlefront, Ratchet & Clank, and even games they really shouldn't be playing like GTA 5. And I think we know what games sound cooler to talk about with your friends at school. Plus, if you're a parent and your kids are still quite young and you want to get them a console and games PG-13 or younger, you're not likely to start them off with a PS4 or Xbox One. You're much more likely to start them off with a Wii U that already has plenty of cool kid-centric games like Splatoon and Mario Kart. In my opinion, the writing has been on the wall for a long time, and it surprises me how they couldn't see it coming too. Excluding Amiibo, which is slightly different, LEGO Dimensions is the only game that has a chance at doing alright, as LEGO has a pedigree of games built up over years, and are good enough that even adults play them. Sega are said to be investing in Shenmue 1 and 2 remasters, although it might take a while, as according to Sega's community manager, it's not as simple as porting the titles to current platforms, as they need to make sure a HD remaster lives up to the quality of former titles. Kinda sounds like an excuse to me, as I don't see how it's any different to any other classic games being ported or remastered to current gen. I think it's more a case of remastering it in a way so as it appears to a more general 2016 audience who expect a lot from their games these days. Which is also a substantial challenge for the upcoming sequel Shenmue 3. Again, not really a fan of this franchise, so I don't particularly have a dog in this hunt, but people rave about this series, so I wish them well, and hope going forward Shenmue 3 can live up to the expectations and nostalgia. Microsoft apparently rejected multiple buyout offers for the now defunct Lionhead Studios, makers of the Fable games, as they didn't want to sell the Fable franchise with the studio. I get why they did this, as I'm sure 5 to 10 years from now they'll probably reboot the Fable franchise, but still, that sure does suck for the countless employees at Lionhead who've lost their jobs in the meantime. In kind of weird and cash grabby news, Activision is set to release a Modern Warfare trilogy on last gen consoles, seemingly to cash in on the large user base that for some reason may not have a current gen console yet and thus can't get their hands on the Modern Warfare remaster. That's all fine and dandy, but they sure as shit better maintain the servers on those games, as only a month or two ago there was some controversy as to whether these servers are still available, particularly on PS3. Which makes sense business wise in terms of Modern Warfare 1 with the remaster being around the corner. But now that they're doing this, they had better be willing to support those servers for at least a while, seeing as it's such a major component of these games. Or they could find themselves being liable for a class action lawsuit. And finally, it wouldn't be right to not talk about yet another rumour surrounding one of the possible new iterations upon the consoles. And this time the rumours surround the possibility that a French video game distributor may have inadvertently given away the release date of the PlayStation Neo sometime in September of 2016, which would release prior to the sale of PlayStation VR. If this is the case, then they really need to come out with a bang at E3 and explain their plans going forward, as all this PlayStation 4.5 Neo stuff is going to kill the original PS4 sales and risk alienating their significant audience. So, that was my recap of the week's gaming news or points of interest. I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff I'll miss each week, so feel free to post anything you're into that I missed in the comments section for discussion. Anywho, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe for more BS of a similar nature. Thank you and goodbye.